Arlington High School, and we're going to be talking about Blanding's turtles this afternoon, and I'm really grateful that you could tune in. This is part of the LaGrange Library Association's Earth Day event, and I'm really grateful for them to take this topic on for their Earth Day celebration this year, and hopefully we'll even be bringing you out and doing some more stuff as the season goes on. This is sort of the beginning of our season for the Blanding's turtles. So here's my little sign. Blanding's turtles, what are they? Well, Blanding's turtles were named after William Blandings, who was a scientist in the 1700s. 1773 was when he was born, and he started studying these turtles, and they were named after him. So it is a Blandings with an apostrophe S, which is a little bit odd spelling of them. They are, of course, reptiles. This is just a stuffed animal Blandings. Gio, who's in the audience over here, he's going to show you a real live Blandings later on. So they're reptiles, very long-lived. They kind of have a lifespan similar to us, where they're born, they don't become mature until they're about 14 or 15, and then they can start to lay eggs and have babies. Unlike us, they have no parental care, and when they're born, they pretty much know exactly what to do. They can walk and do everything, go down to the wetlands, and hopefully live their life. They live about 80 years or more. One of the oldest ones documented is about 85 now, and we think we have some of those old individuals in our population at Arlington. They are true survivors. They've been around millions of years, a lot longer than we have. Pre-human animals, and they know what to do out there in the environment, except we've put up a lot of barriers to make it pretty confusing for them. They are locally threatened animal. They are endangered in many states. They live in the north, so we're talking New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, some parts of Canada. Their biggest populations are in the Great Lakes area of Michigan. They're endangered in Illinois. So they are pretty much a northern species and endangered in some states. New York State classifies them as threatened, which is one step before endangered. And our job here at Arlington, we have kind of a strange little pocket population in Dutchess County. And then the only other place you see Blandings in the state of New York, other than Dutchess, is way up north in the St. Lawrence River. For any of you who know SUNY Potsdam area, they kind of live up in that region. And there's a whole bunch of scientists at SUNY Potsdam, including Glenn Johnson, who studies them there. And some of my former students from Arlington have gone on to study them here, and then again up at SUNY Potsdam. We love our Blandings turtles. They're incredibly charismatic, but they're also sort of what we call an indicator species, a very important species. So why should we save these turtles? Obviously, they're super cute, they're charismatic, we love them, but there's so much more than just that. They play a really important ecological role out there. You wouldn't really think, like, what are the animals doing? It's one of the #1 questions I get from people, like, oh, why save these turtles? That's a lot of money. When we first embarked on this project at Arlington, it was millions of dollars, and not every taxpayer was happy about that. So we talked a lot about why do we go to these great lengths to save a species like this, or any species for that matter. Well, I can speak about turtles in particular. One of the things they tend to do is they take the sediment and they turn the sediments over in our wetlands, which helps to regenerate oxygen and into the entire aquatic ecosystems. So they are constantly turning over sediment, which is important for all of the nutrient cycles in the wetlands. They also disperse seeds from one place to another, so they are important for our plant species to move around and to inhabit new ecosystems or to move from one wetland to another. They are, of course, consumers on our food chain. So those consumers on the food chain, they play an important role controlling some of the life down lower on the food chain. So they're a really integral part of the food chains. And one could argue that they're perhaps even keystone species, that if they should go, then things will kind of get fouled up lower down on those food chains. Oh, that might be my pit scanner here. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. In terms of humans, like say you really had to argue about why humans should care if they don't really care about the ecological parts, think about the human benefits of studying an animal in terms of medical potentials. Like, why do some animals not get diseases? What diseases do they get? What kind of viruses do they get? What do they not get? Do they get cancer like us? Do they not get cancer like us? Studying other animals can give us a whole lot of insight into our own bodies. And also just sort of the aesthetic reason. We're starting to become more in tune with outside. One of those side benefits of the pandemic has gotten us all outside and appreciating nature a lot more. And one of the things that people are realizing is the value of wildlife and nature and the aesthetic value. So those are some of the reasons why I think we should save these turtles and all wildlife and really start thinking about what we can do to bolster their populations. Of course, the Blandings turtles, if you talk to somebody in their 80s or 90s today who lived in the LaGrange community, they will talk about stories of going to their local streams and just playing with Blandings turtles like they were super abundant. So we know that they are suffering. I want to talk a little bit about that history of what they've been through. So the history of the turtles, you can see that. The history of the turtles in particular here at Arlington. So right outside this window, which you can't see, but that big, is a huge parking lot. It's what we call the senior parking lot, because we put all the senior cars over there away from the teacher cars. That happened a while ago for pretty obvious reasons. It was a good thing. But that senior lot and this addition that we're standing in now, and even the middle addition, this high school has expanded greatly. I started here in 1989 teaching science, and I was here for 30 years, just recently retired. And we only had one little wing. It was the east, what's now called the east side, the east wing. And the 1100s for some of you in whatever it is upstairs. But that was it. And then we had the middle edition, and then this newer edition, and then another south side edition, and we just kept expanding and expanding. And for those of you not from Arlington, we're about a high school of maybe 3,400 kids, plus or minus 200, and we're pretty much getting back on track and getting back to school now too. I think we're up to about 85% capacity in most of the classes. So let me turn that thing off. So the history of Arlington, out in that parking lot was a wetland, about an acre in size. So an acre is about the size of a football field. And it was home to some of our juveniles, which you're going to meet one of those in a little bit. This is the home of Sammy, our ambassador. And when we went to go build the middle addition, it was quite clear that that couldn't happen without impacting this wetland. And the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is our federal branch of the government in charge of the environment, and the New York State DEC, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, our statewide branch of government in charge of the environment, both came in and said, well, I don't know if you can do this. You're going to impact, a locally threatened species, a endangered species in many states. And so what they did was come up with what's called a mitigation plan. So the word to mitigate is to lessen the effects of, or to make something a little bit better. When you go to damage something, you mitigate. And there's lots of people involved in mitigation. So what we did was we found a consulting firm. The name of it was called Hudsonia. They were a local environmental consulting firm who had a lot of expertise in turtles. The director of Hudsonia, Eric Kvyat, is probably one of the world's leading experts on Blandings turtles and Blandings turtles habitat. And he happened to be my professor at Bard College. So I was automatically involved in this project right from the beginning when it started in about 1996. So in come the bulldozers. The EPA said, great, we basically took this wetland and dismantled it piece by piece and moved it to the back of the building where we constructed 3 wetlands to take its place. The EPA had sort of a deal. You destroy 1 acre, you build 3 in its place, and they have to be functional. By functional, I mean like a good home for animals and plants. They have the same vegetation in them. The hydrology, all the water flows the same way. And so to do that required a couple years and a lot of money. And initially about $1.5 million. So again, going back to why are we doing this? Not only were we legally obligated to do this if we wanted this addition, it was also morally the right thing to do for these turtles that were living out here. These turtles, by the way, do go freely up and down this corridor in Dutchess County, south and then north of Arlington as well. So they are moving around, even with our barriers that we've created, like Route 55 and other roads and things like that. So that's basically the Arlington project. We built 3 wetlands. We didn't name them anything super fun. A1, A2, and B. And they've become great homes over the years for our turtles, for our Blandings turtles. Some of them a little better than others, and some of them now, oh wow, a whole lot of years later, 25 years later, some of them need a little bit of work. But we're out there working on the wetlands all the time, and just recently I went out with a few students, and we basically re-energized the nesting habitat, because not only did we build the 3 wetlands, we also built new nesting areas for the females. So once they hit the age of 14 or 15, in the spring, they come out of the wetlands and they try to find a dry place to lay their eggs. And that's one of the reasons you guys see them this time of year on roadways and things. They're almost always females trying to find a nice, dry, sunny spot to lay their nest. And so for us, we basically created that nesting ground, and last weekend we had to till the whole nesting ground, and with the help of an organization called the Wetland Trust, they were able to give us the equipment and the people power to get out there and really do the job correctly, which is a battle because these nesting grounds are constantly being filled in by invasive plants and these gigantic weeds like multiflora rose and bittersweet and honeysuckle and you name it. It's out there trying to crowd in and bind our sediments so that the turtles can't dig very easily in there. So we went out for a long period of time and recreated the nesting ground out there last weekend. So there's a lot more to the site. Yesterday we filmed a little bit of on this YouTube channel for the LaGrange Library. You can go out and actually see what some of this nesting grounds look like. So the next thing I want to kind of talk about is who we are and who are the Arlington High School, what we call ourselves, turtlers. All the buildings and grounds people call us turtle people, but we prefer turtlers. And us turtlers, we do a lot of stuff. And I brought some tools to show you some of the things that we do. Mostly we parade around in these big, huge waders called chest waders. We wear these because there's water everywhere we go, and also to protect us from ticks and bugs. And one of the things about these animals that I didn't mention yet is that they really are nocturnal. So they come out at night to lay their eggs. So that's very different from your painted turtles and snapping turtles. They're coming out at night, and it can get really cold out there and extremely buggy and all kinds of interesting environmental conditions. So some of the things that the turtlers do is we trap. The trapping actually takes place during the day. This trap right here is a trap that we use for littler turtles, so our juveniles. We tend to set these more towards the edge of the wetlands and hopes that we catch some of the littler ones. It's sort of a modified hoop trap. Sometimes people would use this for minnows, but our turtles would go into this funnel, and the funnel would kind of collapse underwater, and then they can't get out. And by law, we check these traps once a day and take any turtles out. The bigger turtles, go in this trap here. Here we go. Thanks, Gio. So this is the bigger hoop trap, and it has a funnel on it. You can kind of see what it looks like. And the adult turtles are, they're not huge. They're nothing as big as a big snapping turtle gets, but they get into the funnel and then again get trapped. And of course we leave half of this open because reptiles, like us, are air breathers. They would prefer to breathe out of the water, although they are capable of burrowing into the mud and breathing through their skin and slowing their heart rate down in the winter. So here's a can in here where we put our bait. We bait them with sardines, which they love. And I had a can here, but imagine a little can of sardines. And they're mostly attracted to the smell. Oh, here it is. And also the oils. We tend to use the sardines in soybean oil, and it attracts them, but we don't feed them. We don't feed the wildlife. Maybe a little bit might seep out, but it's mostly just an attraction to get those in there. And then we take all kinds of measurements, just like you would if you went in for a medical physical. We process the turtles. We take their mass. So we put them on the can like this and put them on here and get their mass. I don't know if you can see that. And then we also get their length. These are gigantic vernier calipers, and we might get their carapace length. Sometimes people measure their width. This is the top of the turtle, the carapace, and the bottom of the turtle is called the plastron. And some people actually get the plastron length and width as well. It all depends on what data you're collecting. We try to collect quite a bit of data if we can. So we get their basic mass, length, things that you would collect on most animals. We also would put a tag on them, right on their top of their body. Sometimes they lose their tags. This is a whole stack of tags here. We also would identify them by putting a little notch in their marginal scutes, which Gio will show you later in a little bit up close with the live turtle. Also, on the belly, the plastron of every turtle is a very unique pattern, so we use that to identify who's who. And in our population, we've named all of our turtles. So we have approximately 70 or so turtles that we've named so far, and hopefully we have a whole lot more turtles out there that we haven't even met yet, as turtles come from the Baird State Park and come up from Stringham Road. We use lights to find our turtles at night, so we have big, huge hunting lights. Sometimes people come in the parking lot and see these weird lights off into the distance, and they wonder what's going on out there. So if you see us with our headlamps on with weird red lights, we use red lights at night to protect our night vision, but also to disturb the turtles a little less. And then we also put transmitters on them. So this is a transmitter. This is one of the more expensive parts of our endeavor. We put them on the side, and they have to be a certain size in order to get a transmitter on them. And these transmitters, then we use a radio to find them. There it is on there. And then here is the antenna. So it looks kind of like an old-fashioned antenna that might be on your grandmother's house or great-grandmother's house. And it actually is a pretty old technology, but works very, very well. And so you can hear that beep, and that tells us that the turtle's nearby. We can adjust the gain and figure out, like, if it's a mile away, or if the gain's really low, maybe it might be 10 feet away. And then we use what's called radio telemetry, and we move around and try to locate and pinpoint where that turtle is. Sometimes we're actually trying to find the individual, and sometimes we're just trying to get a general location. But during the nesting season, we want to find the females, and then our goal as turtlers is to protect the nest. So we would use this kind of thing to put over the nest, not over the turtle, but over the nest. and keep out predators. And Azalea and Jasmine are going to tell you a lot more about the predators later on, so I'll save that for them. Some of the other things that we do, some of these turtles have little microchips in them. We call them pit tags, transponders that might be in their legs, so we can use this device to see if they have a pit tag in them. And I think those are the majority of things that we do. We often go out into the golf course, so we have to wear our hard helmets out there, especially if we're out during the day, so we don't get hit by any golf balls out there. And other tools that we might use night vision binoculars to see the turtles nesting from a distance so we don't disturb them. However, we have learned that they're not too easily disturbed once they go into that nesting mode. They almost go into a bit of a trance out there. So let's see, I think that's the majority of my tools of the trade here. So I think what I'd like to do at this point is turn it over to Gio, who is going to tell you a little bit about our ambassador turtle, Sammy.
Okay, so Sammy right here, ambassador, here we go. Sammy here is our ambassador turtle. Let me show you up close. So Sammy here is about 4 or 5 years old, and he's really cute. You can kind of see his face in there. He's a little shy right now. But Sammy is a Blandings turtle, and basically he was taken from his nest when he was hatching by someone who wanted to take them for the illegal pet trade. So basically, endangered animals and threatened animals are sadly worth a lot of money on illegal trading things. And so basically, you know, sometimes desperate people or people that need to make money quickly will take turtles and sell them, which is obviously really bad for the populations. So this had happened to Sammy and some of his other brothers and sisters, and basically he was taken to this house in upstate New York, and it wasn't very good conditions. And so Sammy got sick. I believe all of his siblings had gotten sick. And out of maybe 10 or 12 approximately, only about 3 survived. So Sammy is pretty lucky in that instance. And he's obviously in a much better situation now, but he cannot be released back to the wild because when he got sick, he got a turtle virus. This turtle virus cannot transmit the virus to humans as much as we know, but only from turtle to turtle. So if we had released Sammy here, sick with his virus, he would infect all the other turtles in the population, and we can treat Sammy for his virus if, you know, things happen, but we can't treat every single turtle out there. That would be just crazy. So Sammy is here, can't be released, but we are using Sammy to not only teach the little kids here at the high school, but also to teach the general population, just people like you guys. So Sammy here, yeah, really cute. So Miss Pregnell had asked me to talk about really quickly the, just like the anatomy of a turtle. So on the plastron here, she had mentioned that each turtle, each Blandings turtle has a distinct pattern on their shell. So it changes from turtle to turtle, but it you know, changes maybe a little bit as they grow up. But this is used something like a human fingerprint or the pattern on a giraffe or pattern on a zebra as an identifying mark. So if, you know, the turtle wasn't PIT tagged and the turtle lost their tag number and it had been a lot of time since we last caught this turtle and their notch code had worn down, basically the last saving grace to be able to identify the turtle would be able to look at the plastron and match it up with previous pictures. And so we've actually done that quite a few times because tags fall off quite often. So plastron pictures are a really good way to help identify each turtle. So when I had said notch codes, there are 12 marginal scoots on each side of the turtle. So Sammy has 12 on his right side. I don't know how well you can see that. Where's the camera? So Sammy has 12 marginal scoots on the right side, 12 marginal scoots on the left side. And Sammy doesn't need a notch code because he's going to stay here. He's going to live here with us at Arlington High School. So we'd rather keep his shell nice and, as natural as possible, really. And then they also have plural scutes. So there are 5 plural scutes on each side. No, sorry, 4 plural scutes on each side. And then you have 5 vertebral scutes along the vertebrae of the turtle. So Sammy here is, still a little scared because, But basically, the anatomy of the inside of the turtle here is that they have the spine that goes down the middle, and the spine is attached to the shell. So turtles can't just climb out of their shells. They have to stay inside of their shell. And they don't like to be held upside down because the lungs of the turtle, because they need to breathe air, are typically on the top. So, are on the top of the turtle in this case. So I don't like holding Sammy upside down for too long because, then it's tricky for him to breathe. Blanding's turtles have 5 claws on each of their front hands. So I don't know if you can see Sammy's claws there. So there's 5 on each side. And then 4 on the rear claws. So there's 4 little toes on each side. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. We have a nuclear scoot here right in the middle too. That's just that's like, so I don't know. There's one on every turtle. And yeah, I mean that's really pretty much it.
That's great. Why don't you show us where he lives?
Right. So Sammy here lives in this really nice tank that was donated to us.
Come with us.
All right, you're moving closer to us.
We are moving closer.
So Sammy lives in this really nice long tank. It's called a running stream. So basically, I'm just gonna release Sammy back. You'll see him crawling swim around in a minute. Basically, this was donated to us from Cornell University because they actually have one of his siblings in Cornell, I believe. And so Sammy here is used to help teach the little kids. So we have decorated his tank nicely. Now he has a little bit of a waterfall back here that allows for circulation. And then if we angle the camera a little bit more down this way, oh, he just dove in. Sorry about that. We just missed that. But he has this nice basking area. So basically, he has here. If we so we can see this light here. So this is not only a heat lamp because turtles are ectothermic or cold-blooded, so they cannot really regulate their own temperature. So they need a place to be able to stay warm, and then a place to be able to be cooler. So they have like a warm side of the tank and a cool side of the tank. And this happens naturally, in the real world with the sun, and they're able to bask, and that's what we had seen yesterday. But now we had to mimic that environment here at the high school. So we have a nice basking area for Sammy, and we have nice swimming room. And so the way we set up this tank is that we're able to use this tank for a few more years as Sammy gets a little bit bigger, because we're able to adjust the way that the water drains, so we'll be able to bring up the water level a little bit higher when needed. But for right now, Sammy's still young. He's going to grow nice and big. We don't. I keep saying he, but we're not 100% sure on his sex right now. But our hypothesis is that he's male. Because if I can get him out again, sorry. Hold on. Let me just remove his basking area. Hold up. Sorry. Okay. So, Sammy here has on his plastron, you can see a little tiny bit of a curve. It's not really that noticeable right now, but adult male turtles will have a curved plastron, so it's easier to get on top of the female. So it's in mating, and the female will have a more flat plastron. So, yeah, I mean, you can kind of see a little bit of a curve there, but we're still too young. We still don't know for sure, and so, yeah. That's about it.
Oh, here he goes.
See Sammy swim a little bit, but yeah, he has his basking areas to keep warm.
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes. So.
Hey, man.
Did you get to feed him?
Oh, right. So let's actually be able to feed Sammy. So
Here you go, Sammy.
Yep. This is Sammy's favorite food
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
he likes
There
shrimp.
you go. Oh, he's going at it.
Shrimp.
Yep.
Nice.
He's just coming off of his dormant period in the winter. Of course, these turtles out in the wild would be hibernating. I stepped out for a second to make sure we're all live here, and we are. Yay! Thanks again for joining us, everybody who's out there. Yay, Sammy, go.
So Sammy's really hungry at this time of year because, he's just getting out of his dormant period. And, they don't really eat much during the winter because they're supposed to be hibernating. But since he's, captive, he's able to, still be awake. He's not hibernating. But,
Alright.
he doesn't really eat much during the winter. But now that it's starting to become springtime, he's really a lot more mobile. He's really excited to start moving and, starting to see what's going on in the world. So, yeah.
And that's the same with the wild turtles. Right now, the wild ones are all coming out and are very hungry. And this is why we start trapping in the springtime, because this is when we're most likely to catch the turtles, measure them for their health parameters, but also put the transmitters on the females. We don't tend to put the transmitters on the males because it's really the females we're interested in tracking to protect their nests, which is our biggest mission out there. And actually, Gio and I were out just a few days ago, and we saw a whole bunch of turtles walking around and starting to wake up from their winter's nap. We had quite a winter here in the Arlington area, a lot of snow, and so they were under the ice, burrowed down underwater, likely in the mud. Although if it does warm up, they sometimes get active in the winter too. Some people call it brumation instead of hibernation, but those are all sort of technical terms. Sammy's putting on quite a show. I don't know, Gio, did you talk a little bit about the curriculum here at Arlington?
No, I didn't really touch on that. I just said that we use Sammy to be able to to help teach our younger kids when they come and visit Arlington, and just to educate the general.
One of the things, so Gio just said, and he's part of this class, one of the cool things that Arlington did several years ago is when we built this edition, we built a room where we could have elementary kids come to the high school and sort of acclimate to the high school a little bit, but also the high school students could teach them lessons that they designed. And a couple years ago, we started designing curriculum centered around the Blandings turtles. And last year, we piloted with Miss Saylor the kindergarten and first grade curriculum for Blandings turtles, and it's our hope that we can add new curriculum every year. Of course, I often get the high school juniors and seniors and even sometimes freshmen and sophomore to come out with me in the springtime to work on the turtles outside. But now that we have Sammy as an ambassador, and he's become super valuable for indoor curriculum during the winter. And so I think what we're going to do now is we're going to segue to the other room, and actually we could give you a little tour of the tank room. We have a marine biology program here at Arlington, and then they're going to, Jasmine and Azalea are going to tell you a little bit about their current research project and the research course that we have at Arlington as well. So we'll walk you over to the other room.
All right, guys, let's go on a trip.
So we'll take a quick stop just to help let them set up really quickly in the marine biology room.
Definitely.
So this is our biggest saltwater tank called Monster, a 220 gallon saltwater tank. We have some really awesome fish in here, like the powdered blue tang, and we have the cinnamon clownfish, and really nice big anemones. We have some really nice bubble tip corals. Yeah, this is one of our most pretty tanks. We have another saltwater tank over here. Once you guys are done looking at that. So we have another nice saltwater tank over here. You might recognize this fish as Dory.
It's Dory.
That is a royal blue tang, so different than the powdered blue. And we have, sorry, I forget what Fred is here. Oh, Clark's clownfish, right. So we have some Clark's clownfish here. Those two are actually a mating pair, so they've actually laid some eggs on the rocks. Really exciting. They live in their anemone over there. Sorry to keep scaring them. And then...
Oh, look at this little guy. There's a little guy in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, the purple and yellow guy
Yep.
down there?
Yeah.
There you go. So that is a royal gamma basslet.
Yep.
And,
Adorable.
they
Purple and
hiding.
yellow.
Yeah, so purple in the front, yellow
These are
in
the
back.
cast of characters of Finding Nemo, which we all of our students still love that movie. Oh, and I want you to meet another ambassador that we have here at the high school. This turtle's name is E.T. For extraterrestrial. It's an alien species, which is another word for an invasive species, alien species, exotic species. Basically, an animal that's not supposed to be here. Years ago, my son, Drake, he was out in the wetlands and we encountered this guy in one of our traps. Unfortunately, they're supposed to be in the south, but they're part of the pet industry. This is a red-eared slider. And when people are tired of their pets, they sometimes just dump them off. And this turtle shouldn't be out there competing for resources with our native species. So we took this turtle back into captivity, and now E.T. is sort of an ambassador, and kind of similar to the Blandings, but not your typical plastron patterns, and very different looking. If you see a turtle like this, they are starting to become a little bit more abundant in our area. But if you have a pet that you don't want, try to rehome it and not release it if possible. Schools are sometimes a good place, although Arlington, we're kind of getting filled up with with orphans here. But yeah, this is E.T., and he's a permanent resident of our classroom. So, all right.
All right.
So we're going to move. Here's a view of the tank. So we're going to go into the classroom right now. Please hold. The screen might shake a bit. I'm going to set it up like this. Yep, definitely. Oh, how's that?
Like at the base of the desk.
Okay.
Okay, that looks good.
That's good, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys for standing by. Here are our students.
Hi, I'm Azalea,
I'm Jasmine.
and today we're going to be sharing with you our turtle predator research that we've done so far.
Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you all about what we're doing with the nesting site. Here, I'll go to that side, yeah. So what we're doing with the nesting site. Oh, that works better. So this picture was taken by a Garden Pro A3 trail camera in one early morning. So what we do on most days, or not most days, but we'll venture into the wetlands, and then we'll do everything that Ms. Pregnall was discussing earlier with the technology and tracking and really just seeing the movement of the turtles. This past few months we've gone about once a month because it's been a bit colder. The ideal climate is greater than 18 degrees Celsius. As you can see in this picture, it was only 8 degrees Celsius, so it's not been an ideal time for us to go, but as the climate gets warmer, we'll probably start going more often. Also, the nests are, as you can see, they're underneath the ground, so they do it when it's warm as well. Some of the predators are snakes, wading birds, raccoons, foxes, and skunks. And oftentimes the eggs and young hatchlings are, are eaten the most. So, and that's by raccoons, foxes, and skunks. So we really try to prioritize looking at the nests rather than what we do fully inside of the wetlands. Okay, and then this is the second nesting site. This was taken by the Camp Park Mini Trail camera. As you can see, there's a lot of foliage and plant life, and this was definitely something we had to think about when we were placing the cameras. We definitely had to move a couple twigs and weeds around to make sure that we could get a clear view, as you can see, of the area. So the whole point of our research is that we want to identify predators and protect the nests from them. A lot of research has been done on how to do effective conservation. So effective conservation tactics and also predator management helps to ensure the protection of these animals. So for example, one study looked at a popular tactic, which is head starting. which is essentially when the endangered species, they're young, are taken into like the conservationists, and they're raised and then released into the wild. And it was shown that when they were coupled with predator management, the conservation worked a lot better. So that's something that we're trying to focus on with our research. We hopefully want to add to the restorations already being done by looking at predators as well. We'd also love to look at more cameras. We currently have just these 2 pictures, but more cameras would be good so that we can have more detection zones, and that would just work better.
Alright, so I'm going to be covering what exactly we're doing with the cameras. So this is me and Jasmine at one of the nesting sites. And right here, this is the camera, and if you click it again, so it's kind of blurry, but this is a close-up on the camera. So where one of the nesting site is kind of, so there's like a fence around it, and then like inside the fence there's this big plot of land. And so this camera, like where the turtle's nest is kind of like near the fence a bit. So yeah. And so this is one of the pictures that we did take with the camera, but like what we really want to get for the nesting site, we want to get footage of this area right here. So we kind of missed it with this one, but moving forward in the future, we're going to try to angle the camera down so we can really get on the proper predation data. Because this camera, last time we put them up, it caught a couple of deers, but we're not looking for deers. We're looking for like smaller creatures like raccoons, foxes, and what Jasmine said. So, like Jasmine said before, this was the photo that you last saw was taken with the Cam Park mini trail camera. And this is it right here. Click again. And then so as you can see on the inside of the camera, it only has 4 spots for battery, so it has a relatively low battery life.
Oh.
But it does have night vision, but unfortunately we weren't able to catch any night vision photos with this camera. I don't know if it's because if the sensitivity wasn't high enough or there weren't any predators at that time. But we may not go with this camera again because, as I said, it has a relatively low battery life. And this is a problem with the cameras that we have in general. So we're unable to secure the camera because this is a high school grounds, and in the past kids have stolen the cameras. And the past cameras that this program has used, there was a bike block, and you could kind of like strap it down to like a fence, and like no one would be able to get it. But this camera, it only has like a lock to protect the SD card, but there's no way to kind of secure the camera. So we actually had to hide it. Click it again. And so this is the other nesting site where we put the camera. And click it again. This is the camera right here. And so as you can see, this one's a bit bigger than the other one. This one also has night vision. Like I said before, because we're not able to lock down the cameras, we kind of had to prop it under the fence, so if you were walking by, you wouldn't be able to see it. But that's me, and we strapped the camera down with this strap right here. And this is me, Jasmine, and Gio setting it up, and if you can kind of see here, that's where the camera is. Hopefully you can't see it because we hit it with grass and twigs and such, so people walking past wouldn't be able to see it. So with this camera, this is the area that we're trying to capture, and we got a pretty good picture. And we were lucky enough, this camera actually got a photo of one of the predators we were looking for, a bobcat, and in the night, which is the ideal time because these turtles do lay eggs nocturnally. But this is what we're looking for, so in the future, because we're going to buy more cameras, maybe 6 or 7, we definitely go with this model, which is the Garden Pro A3 trail camera. Look at it again. That's what it looks like close up. Oh, little focus. And this one's actually a lot better because it can store 8 batteries in it. And this one, we'll probably go with this one too because we know for a fact it can take good photos during the night. So pros of this camera, night vision, which is confirmed, but also has a high battery life. But same problem with this camera, we're unable to secure it because of just the way it's made. So for the camera settings, the way I did it, so the photos, we chose a 16 megapixel photo quality. The highest is 20 megapixels, but we were just wanting to test it out to see if we could even get a photo. And it had a 3 3-picture photo burst. So if motion were detected, it would take 3 pictures and then it would stop. And so 5-second detection delay, that means once the motion is detected, the camera waits 5 seconds and then it takes a burst of 3 photos. And the 30-second time-lapse interval, that means, so it waits 5 seconds, then it takes a burst of 3 photos, but in between each photo of the 3, there's a 30-second time interval. We set it to a media motion sensitivity level because, you know, media, if it's too low, then we could put it higher. If it's too high, we could put it low. So we want to start with medium. But medium motion sensitivity actually worked relatively well for this camera. Not so much for the other one. If we were used to use this camera again, we'd probably put it at a higher sensitivity level because this one did successfully get pictures of a bobcat.
Okay, so now we can go into some like exciting things of the actual predators and data that we have seen. So this one was taken with the night vision. I'm not sure if there's a, can you try and press it? Okay, so this one was taken with the night vision camera, which is really exciting. Of course, this one is just a little bunny hopping around, but ideally we would see some predators, especially with Azalea said, we would maybe try and put it closer up. But nesting typically occurs on warm, wet nights, so this would be ideal to, you know, hopefully we can get a good night vision camera that will be able to give us some more predators instead of just cute little bunnies. So this is just another bunny from like the morning, hopping around that we got. This one we think is a groundhog, I believe, maybe. And this is another one from that same site, just in the morning. The groundhog. And these are the bobcats, which are the kind of the star of the show we were really excited to see. Can you press it again? So one thing we're really hoping to do is that by doing this data analysis and setting up the cameras more often, we'll be able to see some recurring predators, and by doing that, we can set up an appropriate system of protection. For example, like if we know a bobcat comes there pretty often, we can do something that relates to them. If we know that there's a lot of foxes, we can try and set up a management system that relates to them. So that's what we're looking forward to in the future, is that by collecting more data, we'll be able to decide on some way to go forward with that. These are some deer that we got. This one's a little closer up to the screen, which is where we want to have the nesting site. This one is kind of in the background there. So just to kind of recap, what we're kind of doing is another approach to conservation. What's previously been done has focused on rehabilitation and restoration, as you and Ms. Pregnall have discussed. And we want to add to that by identifying predators and setting up a protection system, because that would really, putting those two things together would probably help the glamorous turtles thrive, and that's really what we're here to do. After their habitat fragmentation with the school being built, they've gone through a lot. And there's so much stuff that goes into conservation efforts with their diet, their nesting patterns, their habitat. So predation is just one thing that we're looking at and we're really excited to keep working on.
So as you can see, this is kind of the beginnings of our experiments with the cameras, and so I'll be going over some of our plans for the future. So first off, if we were to buy any more cameras, we definitely don't want them to be stolen, because this camera, for example, this one was $40, the other one was $60, and we do plan on buying 6 or 7 of these cameras. So, and we definitely don't want to rely on hiding them in the bushes so people don't steal them. So for example, these cameras, they only have locks on the camera, like you can put a little hardware lock on it, and that prevents people from getting the SD card, but they can really just take the whole camera. So if we were to continue using these cameras, this is, $14 on Amazon. It's kind of, so the way we use this camera is we secure it to a tree with this strap, but instead of using a strap, there's this kind of metal belt thing that you can thread through the camera, and then if you put it through, it has this little, it locks with like a screwdriver, and who really carries around like a screwdriver? So that would be a better way to secure the cameras. And then so another thing we'd want to do is change the camera settings. So the settings so far, this is actually what the settings look like on the A3 trail camera. So the mode, we put it to take photos, but if we wanted to, since we know in one of the nesting sites there definitely is a bobcat and we know what time they occur, we could actually have it a video. The only problem with videos, it takes up a lot more space, and we only there's only like a certain amount of space on each camera. I think it's 32 gigabytes, but again, that's still a lot of space, but video would also be something just to see like how the predators interact with each other. But if we also wanted to do a higher photo quality, because it's probably lesser quality than it actually is because of it's on a PowerPoint, it's also Facebook Live, but the photos that were okay. But I would say the highest quality is 20 megapixels, so we could also go for that in the future. And maybe change the photo burst, like if we wanted more than 3 photos, we could definitely do that as well. And then detection delay, we could also change that as well. The sensitivity for this camera, I think we do need a higher sensitivity because it didn't detect as many things as the other camera. But I think we'd stick with a medium sensitivity for the other camera as well. And so if we were to get more cameras of the same brand, so the way this camera works, it kind of, on the photo, as you could see from what Jasmine showed, there's a time stamp, there's temperature stamp, but if you were to have multiple cameras and multiple testing sites, it kind of be difficult to differentiate the photos. So the way the A3 trail camera works, you can give the camera a name and it'll stamp that the photos that camera takes with the name of that camera. So so you wouldn't get the sites of where a photo was taken confused. Oh, and there's also operation hours. So at first we did put the camera to operate 24 hours a day, but if we're only looking for data in the nighttime, then you can also set it so it only takes photos or videos during the nighttime. So looking forward, that would definitely be something we would do in the future, because the photos in the daytime, yes, they're cool, but they're also a bit unnecessary. So we also want to invest in different types of cameras, because these cameras, they do take batteries, but we could also invest in solar power. But we're also looking into a camera where it has cellular data. So there's like an app, so if the camera senses a predator, like you'll get a notification on your phone and you can see what that predator is, and that's a really important part in our work, because we want to know when the predators, and we want to be able to stop these predators, because we don't want them to eat the eggs. But this is just an example of a solar powered camera I put up there. It's also more cost efficient in the long run because you don't have to buy all the batteries, and it does save a chip or two. And then so essentially what all this is doing is we want to set up protection for the turtles. We want to know how these predators act, when they act, and like when we need to go there to actually stop the predators. And so I don't know if Miss Pregnell, you can click it. Okay, I don't know if Miss Pregnell showed you, but one of the past turtle trackers, Matt Huang, he made a cage. This is not his cage, but it's a very similar form. His cage is a lot better. So essentially with the predator knowledge, we know how to make the cages for if we need to specifically cater a cage to a certain predator. But essentially what we want to do is, if there's a predator, we want to know, and we want to be there to stop that predator, because we don't want any eggs eaten at all. This is a Blandings turtle, and that's it for our presentation. Any questions?
Thank you guys so much. So the first question I would have is, how did you guys get into this at all? Like, how did you guys hear about this?
Well, me and Jasmine, we applied to be part of the junior science research program, and we've heard of the turtle trackers before, and obviously we were interested. But I mean, at least for me, I wasn't like, would I become a turtle tracker? I'm part of that data, but I'm not like an OG turtle tracker. But I'm just glad to be, part of the experience. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think I would agree. I remember telling Azalea this, that as a freshman and a sophomore, I had heard of the turtle trackers and all the work with the turtles. And then to grow up and become a junior, and to now kind of be a part of something similar to that has been really cool, and that's kind of what got me into it too.
Okay, that's awesome. How did you guys decide on this angle for your research?
Good question.
Well, first of all, there's definitely a need when it comes to blanding turtles. There's a lot of them, and there's less people that's actually taking care of them. Because I know the class before us, the turtle trackers, they had a whole team, and their whole science research program was dedicated to us. But this year, only me and Jasmine out of our science research program was interested. And of course there's other people in other years who are also interested. But there's just really a lot of work for it. And honestly, it's just an amazing opportunity to be a part of. And you know, if we need to do something, we're gonna do it. And we needed Predator cameras, and so our old Predator cameras, for some reason they stopped working. I'm not sure why. But because of the Lexus Eco Challenge, now the science program has a little bit more money now, and they wanted to invest it in cameras. So me and Jasmine kind of took over that.
And when I was doing research, there's a lot of different aspects to conservation related to like the nesting patterns and diet and habitat and all of those things. And predation is definitely one of those things, and it came up a lot in the research, and I thought like the old ones were dead, it would be a really good thing for us to kind of restart that program and, you know, help the Blandings turtles with that.
That's awesome. Has the research that you've been doing and the experience that you've had, has that influenced what you're going to do in the future going forward in terms of college or career?
Well, for college, I know I want to do something sciencey. I'm not too sure yet, but you know, turtle tracking, I do enjoy it, and it's like, you know, helping endangered species is always good. But you know, it's also something notable to put on like a resume and such. And I'm just, you know, I'm glad to be doing this work, especially with Jasmine. I think we have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, to be entirely honest, I actually never really saw myself doing anything with ecology before I joined the science research team, and then I got this amazing opportunity to do it. I'm not sure if it's changed my thoughts about going into some other different sciences, but it's definitely been an amazing opportunity and shown me that I really just love doing field work as well. Azalea and I both also work with the Department of Conservation with the eel estuary program, so that's another thing we're doing, so working with the eels and working with the turtles. All of those things has been really fun, and definitely, you know, it looks good in applications, but it's also just a really fulfilling thing to do, that we're, you know, protecting animals and working with people has been really nice.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, now we're going to have...
Thanks, guys. Oh, keep it right there. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm back to wrap this Facebook Live event up. I have my Turtle Tracker shirt on, as you can see, and I have my beautiful Blandings turtle in the background. I just wanted to thank Gio and Jasmine and Azalea for coming out today on a Saturday, and they alluded to the science research program, which we started about, in 2007-8 here at Arlington, as a way to get students really involved in hands-on research and segue onto college. And I have, you know, literally probably hundreds of college kids now, graduates and even scientists working in various scientific roles in ecology today as a result of this research program. That a lot of it was funded by Lexus, and last year's Turtle Trackers, which is the shirt that I'm wearing, they were able to win almost $30,000 doing their research on the turtles last year. And a good chunk of that money went to further our research and help buy some of these cameras for Jasmine and Azalea. And hopefully we'll be able to get some of those cameras that have the cellular link, so we can know right when a turtle might even be nesting, because the resolution for these cameras is getting better and better. So I just wanted to wrap up with ways that you can actually help. What can you guys do personally? Like, everybody sort of thinks, oh, you know, they're doing everything at the high school, and well, one of the things that we could do is, you know, come out and volunteer and be a part of our program. Every single evening, starting in about the middle of May, we'll be out by the bleachers at the high school, and you know, wear your mask and bring gloves, and we'll stay, you know, apart. That's one nice thing about turtling. Us turtlers know how to social distance from each other and still work effectively out in the field. And you can do all kinds of things to help out. Basically, the more eyes out there at night, the better. Bring a really good flashlight, headlamp, preferably with a little bit of a red light, and you won't disturb the turtles, and you'll have better night vision to find them. And the turtles range quite a bit. These turtles, you know, they're not slow like people think. They can book it, they can move fast, and some of them can actually cover a couple miles a day. And our fence line out at the high school is about 1.55 miles long. So we walk the fence line. Basically, that fence is to protect the turtles from getting out into our parking lots and our athletic fields, but the fence also protects all the students from going into areas that have tons of like ticks and poison ivy, and and vines and all of that stuff. So the fence is sort of a mixed blessing. The turtles basically run up against the fence, they want to go south, and then they start nesting. So we cover that 1.55 miles. You want to get your 10,000 steps in a day, come and join in. It's a lot of exercise too. Bring bug spray, bring lots of water to drink, and it does kind of get cold at night. We're usually out there from 7 to 10, and then if we have a nesting turtle, we could be out there till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. There were many nights where the sun would rise and I would just come in here and teach. So this will be my first season where I'm not coming back in to teach. So that will be kind of nice. So some of the things that you guys can do to help, in addition to coming to volunteer, keep your eyes open. This time of year, turtles are starting to migrate and move around. They're tired of being down in the mud. They're tired of being all cooped up. So they're going to come out and they're going to start moving, especially the females as they start looking for nesting grounds. And I'm talking like all species of turtles. They'll start moving to drier ground to nest. And you can slow down a little bit. I know out here on Route 55 we now have roundabouts, which are a little bit trickier to just stop in if you see a turtle. That's one of the disadvantages of roundabouts, in my opinion. They make traffic flow, but it is difficult to stop. There are no lights anymore, so it's a little dangerous to just stop all of a sudden and get out and move a turtle. So don't put your own life at risk, of course, but if you can safely do so, you want to move the turtle sort of in the direction that it's going in. They know where to go. They've been here for a lot longer than humans, and they might likely outlive all of us as well. They're pretty resilient animals. The other thing that you can do is when you're getting into cars, especially in our area, but likewise, no matter where you live, hopefully you have turtles nearby, look under your cars, look on the blacktop around you. They look like rocks, essentially, so you really have to kind of get a search image in your mind. Of course, our turtles have this beautiful yellow neck. If you should see a turtle that looks like this, they're the only ones in the world with the brilliant lemon-colored necks, so you can't really miss them. Take a picture of them. That's one of the things. People get so excited and then they forget to take a picture, and the pictures are important for us to identify what turtle it is, where they belong. We have photographic databases all up and down this region. If you can get a picture of the side of their body, the top of their body, especially the plastron, the belly plate, because that is their signature. Remember, every single Blandings turtle has a unique, just like our fingerprints, a unique pattern on their plastrons, so we can identify who that individual is, especially if it's a female, and where they're going and what they might be doing out there. Easy to take a picture, and these guys, they are really friendly. I know they have that cute little dolphin smile permanently, just like a dolphin, somehow the structure of their jaw. They don't bite. They're not like a snapping turtle, so you don't have to worry. If you have gloves, great. That's best to handle all wildlife with gloves these days, and a mask, just to prevent any flow of disease. We are very concerned with zoonotic diseases and diseases that jump species from animals to humans. And it's a two-way street with these viruses, so we really want to be extra careful these days. So look in parking lots. I know our bank across the street has big signs. The turtle trackers last year put signs all over our parking lot that say, from March to October, be on the lookout for turtles. And what do? Take pictures. If you're at the high school, put them on the other side of the fence towards the wetland. If you're not at a high school, you're somewhere else, you're wherever you are in the world, put them in the direction they're going, if you can safely. Right now, little tiny baby hatchlings are coming out. Painted turtles actually overwinter underground, and the little babies are coming out of the ground now. They're trying to find water, so you could perhaps give them a leg up and move them to the nearest water that you see, so they don't get squished by cars or people, or a lot of times on our rail trails they'll get hit by bikes and things. So if you can just give them a little hand into the waterway, that would be great this time of year. If you find an injured one, and this happens, don't be too alarmed. I started doing wildlife rehabilitation a couple years ago, and it's remarkable how much these guys can survive being hit by a car. Again, they're incredibly resilient. They have excellent healing powers. If they're brought to a vet that is specially trained in herpetology and specializes in reptiles, even better. Definitely try to get it to a wildlife rehabber. On our New York State DEC website, there's a list of all the wildlife rehabbers. I'm on there. I get calls every day of the strangest nature. Mostly it's a snake in somebody's house or whatever. But yesterday I got a call from a spotted turtle had been hit in Rhinebeck, New York. And spotted turtles are a species of special concern. So I was able to get that to our vet. We are very lucky that we have a local reptile vet here, Dr. Whitman. He's an incredible vet and has tremendous ability to bring these guys back from where you think their intestines are coming out of their body, and he can cure them. Something like 90% of road hits can be saved. They can be saved and released back to the wild after a year or 2 years of care. So don't give up, and definitely send us pictures. Look on the Wildlife Rehabber site. Look also for you can email me, mpregnal@gmail.com, or Facebook message me, and take pictures of it. Look for the tag on it, tag numbers, radios, anything you can find. And pictures of its injury, of course, are really important as well. If you find an injured one, put it in a box and try to immobilize it as much as possible. Because if they move too much, that the plastron or the carapace, wherever it's hit, could get jostled a little bit more. I usually carry a box in my car this time of year all the time. So, Gio has a message for me.
The eggs in the females, if they get hit, the eggs.
Oh, yes. So that's another point. If we did have a female hit during nesting season, oftentimes the vet can actually remove the eggs from her if she's gravid. Gravid means that she is carrying eggs, and we can incubate those eggs and get those babies, which is tremendous because, even if she had passed away, we could still save all of her babies, which is something people don't often think about. They're like, no, it's completely gone. But there's still a chance that there are eggs. Sometimes you'll see them depending on the hit, but sometimes you won't. So it is still worth trying to call a rehabber about. And also, we're all interested in where these traffic patterns happen to occur, where most of these animals are hit. So if you do find one injured, give a rehabber a call, especially myself in this area. Other things that you guys can do, of course, if you can't come out and volunteer, and like some people don't really want to come out to a hot, muddy, swampy, buggy place at night and stuff like that, we're always looking for donations as well, whether it's monetary donations or masks, gloves, material donations, and that's always useful too. Of course, we have so many costs. We are going to try to get cellular links for the cameras that Jasmine and Azalea have, and then we are always trying to buy gear, more transmitters for turtles to be able to put more transmitters on. I also have a GoFundMe page. It's called Turtles in Trouble. Maribel Pregnal, and this money goes directly towards purchasing transmitters, cameras, everything. And we raised $2,800 so far, which is great because that was enough for me to buy all the transmitters we needed for this season, which is the most we've ever had. We have 17 transmitters this year, so we're really, 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 really excited about that. And of course, some big donors on here, including the Wetland Trust, which we're so grateful for, and other people, everybody who donates them. Be rest assured the money goes directly towards really helping a species that we can all help in some way. So, and I'll put this link on my Facebook story too. But I think I've covered just about everything. So if anybody has any questions at all before we wrap up this Facebook Live?
No, I think we're good.
All right, well, thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you all for coming out, and I hope to see you all out here at the wetlands or feedback on my Facebook page, Maribel Pregnell, and or GoFundMe or wherever. Just hopefully, as we head into this turtle season, you guys can do your part to help out. Alrighty, take care.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.